Stop for a moment and think about the last time you felt completely misunderstood by someone close to you. That painful disconnect is precisely where Carl Jung's concept of psychological types offers profound insight. In my studies of Jung's work, I've found that his exploration into the different ways people perceive and judge the world can transform how we relate to others. Understanding psychological types doesn't just give you a label, it opens up a compassionate lens that reveals why we experience and express life so differently. This understanding can deepen your empathy and improve your relationships in ways you may never have imagined. People often say communication is key, but what Jung uncovered is that communication is profoundly shaped by the underlying psychological types that govern how we think and behave. To truly grasp the power of this, first, let's validate what Jung observed clinically. Many of the conflicts and frustrations we face in relationships stem from fundamental differences in how our minds operate beneath the surface. When I look at contemporary struggles, whether it's at work, in friendships, or romantic partnerships, I see that these differences often lead to misunderstandings and feelings of isolation. Jung noticed this decades ago through his analytic work with patients who felt alienated even by those closest to them. He saw that their inner worlds were so different that on the surface they seemed almost like different species. This isn't just theory. I recently read about a case Jung described where a couple continually clashed because one was primarily an intuitive type while the other was a sensing type. The intuitive partner felt frustrated by what they saw as narrow-minded, concrete thinking, while the sensing partner felt overwhelmed and dismissed by abstract speculation. Jung recognized this dynamic and said the tension arises not from malice but from a fundamental difference in information processing. This matters now more than ever because our world is so diverse and fast-changing. Rushing to judge others through our own psychological lens compounds conflict instead of resolving it. So, how exactly did Jung classify these types? He introduced two basic attitudes: extraversion, which orients energy outward toward the world, and introversion, which focuses inward toward one's own thoughts and feelings. Within these attitudes, he identified four primary functions: thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition, that can each be dominant in different people. These functions describe how we either perceive the world or make decisions about it. What's truly revolutionary is how Jung saw psychological type as a dynamic interplay. For example, an extroverted thinking type relies on logic and objective analysis expressed outwardly, while an introverted feeling type might be deeply guided by internal values and ethical considerations. When you begin to recognize these patterns, you start seeing people's behavior not as arbitrary or frustrating, but as a reflection of their psychological makeup. This reminds me of a story from Jung's patients called The Scholar and the Artist. The scholar, a classic thinking sensation type, valued facts and concrete realities and felt baffled by the artist's intuitive feeling approach that prized emotional depth and symbolic meaning. Neither understood the other at first, leading to tension. But through Jung's method, they learned to appreciate the other's perspective as a different way of engaging with life rather than a flaw. This reshaped their relationship and enriched their understanding of the world. The history of Jung's thinking on this subject also reveals how this model challenged the dominant psychology of his time, which saw personality as largely uniform or based on pathology. Instead, Jung's psychological types introduced a spectrum of normal variation, reframing differences as vital aspects of human wholeness. Compared with other personality theories, Jung's typology digs deeper into the unconscious motivations behind behavior rather than just surface traits. Imagine how this knowledge can apply today. In the workplace, knowing a colleague's type can help you tailor communication and collaboration, avoiding frustrating deadlocks born from mismatched expectations. In families, it helps us honor the diverse ways our loved ones process emotions and decisions, reducing conflict and fostering connection. Jung also gave us practical tools to explore type more deeply. One technique he pioneered involves guided self-reflection and dialogue to identify your own dominant attitude and function, an exercise that reveals patterns you might have never consciously acknowledged. The goal is not to box yourself or others, but to cultivate awareness and flexibility. Another approach is paying attention to your dreams and spontaneous imagery, which Jung believed offer clues to unconscious aspects of type not fully expressed in waking life. Engaging with these methods can lead to a richer understanding of both yourself and others, cultivating empathy and patience. Jung's belief in human potential shines through here. He saw that by embracing and integrating different psychological types within ourselves and in relational dynamics, we can move toward greater wholeness, what he called individuation. In other words, understanding psychological types is not just about labeling others, but about expanding your capacity for connection and self-growth. So take a deep breath and allow yourself to feel the weight of this truth Jung discovered, that much of our interpersonal conflict dissolves once we recognize the unconscious drives shaping behavior. If you embrace this wisdom, you'll find what seemed like barriers to understanding become bridges toward authentic connection. To summarize Jung's core message on types, he wanted us to remember that differences in personality are natural and essential aspects of human diversity. Through appreciating these differences, we open the door to empathy rather than judgment. The promise here is profound transformation. By learning to read these psychological languages, you shift from frustration to curiosity, from conflict to communion. This insight shows us how to navigate relationships with more grace and depth. Now, if you found this exploration illuminating, I invite you to stick with me, because tomorrow we will dive even deeper into how to identify and develop your inferior function, a concept Jung considered vital for unlocking hidden strengths and achieving balance. This exploration builds directly on understanding psychological types, because the inferior function represents the unconscious side of our type, often neglected yet holding key potential for growth. Missing that step leaves us stuck in limited patterns, but embracing it can propel us toward true individuation. So please comment with your experiences relating to personality differences, and subscribe for this essential journey into Jung's practical psychological wisdom. You will not want to miss tomorrow's video as we unlock the next crucial layer of Jung's transformative teachings, designed to help you understand yourself and others more fully.